this second example, we will show you how to throw an exception in one method and how to catch this exception in a different method. This is not the same as example 1. In example 1, we have thrown an exception and caught this exception in the same method that was the main method. So let us read the question. It says create a used car class with fields for a vehicle identification number, VIN, make, year, mileage, and the price. The used car constructor will throw an exception in the following cases. When the VIN is not 4 digits, when the make is not Ford, Honda, Toyota, Chrysler, or other, when the year is not between 1997 and 2017 inclusive, or when either the mileage or price is negative. After writing the class, we are also going to write an application that creates a used car object from this class and make the constructor throws an exception. So we are going to throw an exception inside the constructor of a class, and we are going to catch this exception in an object created in the main method. In your application, use a try catch block to handle this exception. So let us first write the class, and then we are going to write an application that creates an object from this class, and also we want to make its constructor throws an exception. So let us go to JGrasp. In the used car class, we have defined the data members for the vehicle identification number, for the make of the vehicle, the year, the mileage, and the price. And also we have initialized all of these data members by the constructor. Inside the constructor, we want to throw exceptions for the following cases. So let us go over each case one by one. In the first case, we want to throw an exception if the vehicle identification number is not 4 digits. We write F CVIN, which is the input parameter. If it is less than, the smallest 4 digit is 100. Or if it is greater than, the largest 4 digits number will be 999. In this case, we are going to throw an exception of the general exception. So we write throw, and we write new, and here we write the name of the class of the general exception, and we supply the message that it's going to be displayed when it is caught by the catch statement. This message will be VIN is not 4 digits. If this is not the case, then we have to change the value of VIN and we make it equal to CVIN. Notice here I did not use else with the if statement, because if there is an exception, then everything will be skipped, so the else is useless. And if statement is false, then immediately it will go to the next statement, so it will save CVN into VIN. So there is no need for if and else will be just here, redundant or useless. Now for the second exception, if the car make is not equal to Ford, Honda, Toyota, Chrysler, or other, then we are going to throw an exception. So we write F, and the input parameter is CMake. And remember, we are dealing with the string, so we cannot use equal to check for equality for strings. So we are going to use the method equals ignore case, equals ignore case, and inside we will put Ford. But here we are testing for not equal. So if the car make is not equal Ford, at the same time, and it's not equal to Honda, so I'm going to copy this method call and copy it. And if it is not equal to Honda, similarly we are going to check if it is not equal to Toyota, not equal to Chrysler, and finally not equal to other. So if the car make is not equal to Ford, and it's not equal to Honda, it's not equal to Toyota, not equal to Chrysler, and finally not equal to other, then we should throw an exception, which is the same exception that we have thrown in the first exception. So we will copy it, but we need to change the message inside. So, and we are going to say that the make is not equal to the following. So I'm going to copy this message and paste it as a message for the constructor. But we are using double quotations, so we have to use them as escape characters. So we are going to put backslash in here, backslash here, and in here, and also here for Toyota. Now I'm going to break this message because we don't have a space to write. So we're going to break it to the next line. Backslash, 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 and finally we have backslash in here. So here we are having a problem with backslashes, so that we need to put double quotation for the last one that will closes the message. If this is the case, then an exception will be thrown. Otherwise, we need to copy or initialize the car make by the car make the input parameter value. This is for the car make. Now for the year, we have to do the same. We will say if year is less than or equal to 1997, or if year is greater than or equal to 2017, then again we are going to throw an exception. So I'm going to copy this line, paste it here, and we need to change the message. And in the message we will say that year is not between 1997 and 2000 exclusive. We will paste the message inside the constructor of the exception. Now finally, we need to throw an exception if either price or mileage negatives. So we will write if statement for each of them. So we'll say if mileage. I think we made a mistake here. We should check for year here, which is car year. And here we should check for car year. And if there is no exception, we forgot to copy the value of car year that is given as an input parameter to the car year as a data member. So in here we are going to check for C mileage. If it is negative, then we are going to throw an exception. And in this exception, we will say that mileage error, we will say mileage is negative. So it's a good idea that we proceed all messages by the word error to indicate that we are having an error. So let us go back to the messages that we have thrown in the previous examples, and here also we write error. And then here we say mileage is negative. If we don't have an exception, then we are going to copy C mileage into mileage. Finally, for the price, we need to check if it is negative. We are also going to throw an exception. So here we say C price less than 0. If this is the case, we have an error, and here we are going to say price is negative as an exception or as an error. Otherwise, we are going to copy C price into the data member price. And this completes the implementation of the used car class. But before we proceed, we would like to check that we don't have any syntax errors. So we will save it, we will compile it, and see if we have any errors. Yes, in fact, we have an error. It says C year, yes, Y should be capital. And then here also Y should be capital. Let us compile again. And again, we are having the same problem, mileage. We have a spelling problem, C mileage. And C price, let us check why we have a problem with C price. Probably we did not define it correctly. Yes, in here I have to put capital letter C price. Now compile again. This is the problem that we want to talk about, that we are throwing an exception in a method, but we are not catching this exception. See now, the method we are talking about is the constructor, which is called used car. And here we are throwing an exception, but in fact we are not catching this exception. We are going to catch this exception in different method, which is the main method. We will show you what changes we should do to get rid of syntax error. But let us complete the other part of the exercise, and then we will come back for this error to correct it. Now for our application, instead of writing a separate class and we write the main method inside it, we are going to define the main method inside the used car class. So here we are going to define public static void main args, and in here we are going to create an object from used cars. We are going to make it to throw an exception, and we are going to catch it also inside main. So here we will say try, and we are going to say catch, and we are going to catch this exception by the class name exception, and we are going to call the object exp like an input parameter. And once we catch this exception, we want to display the message that was supplied as an input parameter to the constructor when the exception was created as an object. So in here we will say system.out.println, and we are going to print exp.getMessage. So it depends on which exception that the program is going to throw. So inside the try, we are going to create an object from the used car. So we will say used car is equal to new used car, and in the first case we are not going to throw any exception. So let us supply 4500 as the vehicle number, and it is exactly 4 digits, and the make is Toyota, the year is 2010, the mileage 60,000, and the price 11,000. Now we should not have any exception thrown because all the input parameters to the constructor do not throw an exception. So let us run the program. As you can see, still we have the problem. It says that exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Now the problem here occurred is that because we are generating an exception in one method and we are not catching this exception in the same method. In fact, we are generating the exception in the constructor and we are catching the exception in the main method. So how to make the compiler understands that the exception will be caught in a different method? To do that, you go to the method that generates the exception, which is the constructor, and after you write the header of the method or the constructor, you write the word throws, and you put the type of the exception that this method is throwing. So it is exception. So here you are telling the compiler that this method is going to raise an exception, but this exception will be caught in a different method. So let us now compile the program again, and as you can see, we don't have any syntax errors. Now inside main program, we have generated an object of type used car, and we have supplied input parameters to the constructor, so none of these parameters will raise any exception. So when we run the program, notice that there is no output on the output screen. Now let us check for the first exception. We are going to give 3 digits only for the vehicle identification number. Let us see what will happen. Now run the program, and notice that an exception is thrown. It says that error, vehicle identification number is not 4 digits. Let us correct it, and now let us give a name other than Toyota. Let's say Mazda. Now let us compile the program and run it again. And when we run it again, and here it says make is not Ford, Honda, Toyota, Chrysler, or others. So let us return it back to Toyota. Now let us give it a year that is after 2000, let's say 2020. And now run the program again. And here we have another exception that says year is not between 1997 and 2017. So let us return it back. And now finally we will give negative number for the mileage. And here it says mileage is negative. And finally for the price, let us give it negative. And here it says the price is negative. So all exceptions are thrown according to the conditions we have supplied in the constructor. So this is what you do if you want to raise an exception in one method and you want to catch it in a different method, that you have to declare the exception while defining the method. And this completes the implementation of this exercise.